Three, two, one. Hello, and welcome back to Retrieving Sanity with your podcast host Keegan, and this is your podcast for all mental health, addiction, recovery issues, and topics. And today we have a very special guest, and his name is Zander, and he is the Z Play coach. How are you doing today, Zander?
Great, Keegan. Loving it up.
Love it. So you're the Z Play coach. What exactly is the Z Play coach? It sounds really cool, so it's got to be awesome, right?
100%. Yeah. My focus is to try to activate what I call our play flow state. So I remind people that our reason to be is play. So however way I can just have us remind that. So that's but
Any reason to play? And whenever you say play, what exactly do you mean by play? Like hide and go seek, tag, or are you talking about like, oh, I don't know, maybe capture the flag, something like that even?
that's a perfect question actually, because I do get that a lot. And 'cause one of the things I ask people like, hey, do you play? And people are like, a little bit. I'm like, okay, I should probably explain what I mean by play. So that's a perfect question because play is a huge word. It's one of those things I'm like, I kind of like associate with love as far as trying to explain it because there's so many definitions, so many different ways. But what I mean is like our fundamental purpose, that play that we have, that childlike play, that's something it gets beaten out of us, we start missing as we age. And it's important for us to remember that because that's like our true state. So
Yeah.
I try to get people to reactivate that, bring about that into their system so that they can connect with that childlike being that's in all of us.
Oh man, that is so cool because like a lot of the time whenever I hear someone saying like I want to get back to center or I want to get back to a peaceful state or a natural state, that's what they're talking about. They're talking about like zen, like but you're saying that our natural state is more playful, it's more energetic, it's more active, right?
This is what I have found personally. I've had, I've gone through the route of going, of studying meditation and being in that moments where I've sat down for hours. I actually lived in an ashram for a while, trying to
Whoa.
focus. And I've got monkey brain, 100%. My brain's all over the place, just trying to, I'm like, I find it, where am I even at? I have no idea. But it was really cool because my guru at the time actually saw me playing my favorite game, which is kicking around a bag. I call it, a footbag. Hacky
Mhm.
sack is the whammo name, but it's generically called a footbag, right?
Uh-huh.
But I was doing that a lot, and he saw me doing it, and he's like, "That's your focus. That's your center. Like that's where I found my peace."
Hmm.
So you can go that route, but my theory, my thesis is based upon that play is something that's universal. When I look at
Mhm.
all life, it plays in some way, like all life forms. And I look at plants, I look at them playing together, and I look at, life is play. So
Mhm.
that's how I associate everything. And that's where I find that we can, once we connect with that part of us, then it brightens up the whole world, and
Mm.
it reflects off of other people too. If you're in that type of frame of mind, that state,
Mhm.
other people will get into that, and it creates a different vibration for everybody to jump in on.
Ooh, I like that a lot. You're saying that play is also contagious, huh?
100%. It's like laughter. It's like laughter. Like that state. Yeah. If there's all these experiments about people go with some place and they'll start laughing hysterically, and everyone starts laughing after a while, right?
Mhm.
It's something we recognize. I found the same thing with play. Like if I go to a park and play, it gives other people the. Play.
Mm.
So it's something that we all want to do. We just have to have approval to do it, if you will. As we age, we become more self-conscious about it, and so it's
Mhm.
less natural for us to do it.
Ooh, I think you just hit the nail on the head with saying that because I feel like I've become self-conscious whenever it comes to playing or just being myself and being adventurous because I don't know why. Is it and it's something that just happens so gradually that it's like one day it's like, I don't want to go outside because it's raining or something.
Yeah.
I don't want to go outside because I'm going to get dirty. And it's like, come on, what the hell happened to me?
Totally, totally. Yeah, yeah. It's yeah. We lose that spirit of adventure, like running out into the rain and splashing around the puddles used to be something so fun. I remember
Mm,
just doing that, with the friends and stuff, and just being like, yeah, screw, let's go out and play some mud football, whatever, why not, But
mm,
it is a slow progression as you'd
mm,
mentioned. I mean, like I talk about this a lot too. Is like when we grow up in children, the way they play and they learn through play. That's just that
yeah.
if you observe children, that's what they do.
Mm,
And then it slowly gets taken out of us. We go through a school
mm,
system that shoves it into recess time, and then you're like, you're just
mm,
sitting there going, okay, can I play now? I'm about to sit in this stupid chair and listen to your lecturing me about nonsense. I want to play. I
mm,
want to go out and play.
mm,
Then, by the time we go into high school and stuff, all that play is put into competitive sports.
mm.
And for me,
Yeah.
that kind of takes away the child play because children, when they play, they're not about beating each other. They're about making play last as long as possible. So they'll
Yeah.
adjust and compromise and do all these things to make it last longer, but not
Mm,
there's an enemy, he's a different colored uniform, I got to crush him. That takes away that spirit, that childlike spirit, that innocence of play that makes it remarkable, extraordinary. And
mm.
then high school goes into workplace, and then all of a sudden play is you're here to work, you don't play. And so
Yeah.
then we become self-conscious about it. We associate
Mm,
play with goofing off or just not being responsible, and nothing could be
mm,
further from the truth. That's the problem. It's trying to redefine how play fits into our society is part of
mm,
my mission, if you will. I'm trying to just say, look, you
mhm.
can play whatever you're doing. That's
Yeah.
part of it. But it's awakening that feeling, that sense of, hey, everything can be played that allows you to do it.
Hmm. I really like that idea. Everything can be played with, right? So in a sense, for instance, this podcast can be played with the right state of mind, right?
100%. Yeah, yeah, yeah. As long as you're having fun and your brain gets into a state where that's your everything just becomes that focus, and everything
Mm-hmm.
else is nonsense. You just get fully immersed in that activity, that engagement, and time seems to disappear. That's when you what I call the play flow state. And
Ah.
I do that walking on a street. I don't walk in a straight line. I jump off the curbs. I do little kickstands off of stuff. I goof around. I'm most of the time juggle when I'm walking now, but
Ah.
just to get myself fully activated in that moment. But it
Mm-hmm.
literally makes everything transition. If I'm cleaning my house or something, I'll do a little dance as I'm doing the vacuuming or something like that. Just goof around just to make my amuse myself,
Yeah.
but it keeps me playful. And that's the thing I coach people on is like getting into that playful state. So
Mm-hmm.
stress disappears. You just can lock back into it almost instantly with a few tricks, if you will.
Mm. Okay, that's really good to know because I like to do little silly, goofy stuff all the time whenever I'm by myself. But I mean, I actually had an episode not too long ago where I got really self conscious about everything I was doing. And so that has really affected what I'm doing, like, even whenever no one's around. And it's like I'm finding myself sitting here going, like, where is this really coming from? But I know that there's also parts of it to where it's like I know that it's the everyday life, it's the political spectrum, it's the just health, getting older, it's everything going on, and it's like I want to be that goofy little self again, but sometimes I don't know how to get there, and I feel like it's right there on the tip of the tongue, but I can't sit there and actually elicit that response. I can't get into that play state, if you will. So how do you get there?
It's a good question. And I go through those same things.
Mm-hmm.
The thing of having life's pressure on you all the time. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we're drowned in it. You know what I mean? Every time you
Yeah.
pick up your phone, you get another news pop or something like that, or something that
Mm.
gets you sidetracked. And you know, they've perfected the art of keeping us engaged in nonsense. That's
Yeah.
that's that's really what it is.
Yeah.
So it starts out off like really setting aside time for it. You got to make the time to find your way of play, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've,
Yeah.
you know, the I do tricks like first thing in the morning to get my mind to recognize whenever I want to just relax. I've got
Mm-hmm.
special things that I do. I do a breath count, and then every time I exhale, I do a with my lips, right?
Yeah.
Right? So this resets my vagus nerve, but it
Uh-huh.
also, since I'm doing it in bed,
Mm-hmm.
it sets my body to remember that when I do that, I'm relaxed.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime I get
Oh.
stressful, I can quickly just go like that, and my brain will go, oh, "Okay, I'm supposed to be relaxed," and I'll chill out. You know,
Huh.
that's one of the tools that I use. That's a pretty good way of doing it. And I do a certain uh, repetition with my fingers, a way of counting.
Mm-hmm.
This is how you do like mudra repetitions on your hands. So when I
Uh-huh.
do this, I'm doing that at the same time. So even if I can't do this, if I'm in a situation where I'm like at a meeting or something like that, I'll just stick my hands underneath the table and I'll do that repetition of going through my fingers, and that also activates me. It's a
Huh.
remembrance of the relaxed state, right?
Oh,
So that's
okay.
like a little cheat.
Huh.
But the important thing about setting aside that time for play sets your body in a state that you're not only you're just telling yourself, okay, I've got this time every day that I'm playing, and you look
Mm-hmm.
forward to it every day. But
Mm-hmm.
it'll also, the more you do it, the more you allow yourself to do it, the more your body will want to do it. The more your mind will say, associate, hey, how can I play right now because I felt good when I was playing before. So finding your way of play is also
Mm-hmm.
important. So
Okay. Huh.
everybody is different. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I have my two, what I call the pillars of play. I've found two exercises to be the most beneficial for our physical and mental health.
Okay. And what are
So
those?
that was a, that was a little hook.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, right. Good question. Well, for what I call the ultimate brain exercise is actually
Mm-hmm.
juggling, right?
Yeah, I could say that's a good one.
It's literally out of everything I've learned and I've come across and explored. Juggling is by far the best exercise I've come across for the brain.
Hmm.
As far as you activate both your left and right hemispheres when you're going
Mm-hmm.
cross brain with the hands. Your hands like your gateway to your brain, like the amount of neuron
Mm.
connections that associate with your hands. It takes up a huge chunk of your brain. So with one side, when you're grasping the ball as you're throwing it from the other side, and then you do a
Mm-hmm.
reverse of that, you stimulate your brain in this holistic way. The corpus
Huh.
callosum, which is the connector, it gets going into this rhythm that it loves because it can predict it. And so you're
Mm-hmm.
going back and forth with this simple exercise, but it sends holistic brain pulses. It's not specified. So they send out
Uh-huh.
these bursts that actually they've proven grow white as well as gray matter in the brain.
Huh.
It stems off Alzheimer's, dementia. It is an amazing tool for recovery because it pulls you away from addictions. So the
Huh.
neurons that set you on this chemical brain reaction that you want to get from doing certain substances and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
It when you change that and you start juggling during that moment, it actually will pull those neuron connections more towards juggling. So
Huh.
I work with recovery people as well about, hey, just try this out. Just try this out, and you start getting addicted to juggling instead, and then once you're on the path of juggling, man, I mean, there's infinite tricks you can learn. You can always learn a new trick with juggling. So it'll always keep you entertained. You'll start getting the epinephrine, the dopamine, all these different brain chemicals that go on every time you learn a new trick and your brain's performing this exercise. It's the simplest way.
Huh.
All right?
I honestly had no idea, but it would make sense because I can't juggle very well. Like they tried teaching me in elementary, and I was like la la la, and I'm not good at it, so I kind of stopped. Um,
Well, I well, I do have the best juggling course online. It's for free,
Whoa,
right?
sweet.
But you actually learn with one ball these different steps that you do. And I've taught people with severe brain issues. Like
Mhm.
I had a friend who had severe Parkinson's, and I started teaching him how just to squeeze it. So we started building up his connections this way, and then he started tossing it with one hand, start
Mhm.
tossing, one with the other, and start doing the cross brain actions. And then you do these steps to learn
Mhm.
how to juggle, And whatever state you're at, you can learn to do it, and it builds a neuron foundation that eventually crosses over and creates the bridge that you can learn how to juggle. They are really simple, so you don't get frustrated with the process, because that happens to a lot of people. And then so many people said that to me, Keegan, oh, I can't learn how to juggle. I suck at it. I'm like, shut up. Like, everyone has excuses. I get it. I get that everybody has excuses. But at the same time, if you knew how amazing it was for you, if you knew what it could do, you would literally stop everything and just focus on learning how to juggle. You'd be like, I've got to learn this. I'm going to learn it, and I'll do it. And then you'll feel it once you get the rhythm in and the neuron connections lock in, and you get that point where you've got it down. You feel your brain relax, and you'll be like, oh, this is what it's about. And that starts the addiction. That starts the I've gotten so many people, crazed about it, and like I've taught young kids, because I learned when I was older. I would learn when I was like I was in my mid-20s when I learned how to start juggling. And I've taught kids at my son's school. I taught a couple of kids how to learn, and I come back a week later, and the guy's like, "No, look what I can do." And he's just throwing out all these tricks. I'm like, "Geez, those took me years to get, but good job." The younger you start, the better off you're going to be.
Huh. That's really interesting. I had no idea that juggling would do so much good for the brain.
It's so underrated. It is so and nobody really knows. Like people dismiss it. They're like, "Oh, that's for clowns," and I'm like, if you knew exactly what it was doing and how fun it is to do and how easy it is to learn how to do it, everyone would be juggling. But it also is a great connector. Yeah. I juggle everywhere I go. If I'm walking down the street, if I'm waiting at a post office or anywhere, I have my balls with me all the time, and I like to play with them. But I will just whip them out and just start juggling. It always ends. I mean, not every single time, but a lot of times it starts with a conversation with somebody. It's a way to connect.
Yeah.
But that leads me to my primary thing that I love to do above juggling. Although I love juggling, my primary thing to do is kick one of these things around.
Ooh,
Footbag.
hacky sack.
Hacky sack is owned by Whammo. They officially own that name.
Sorry.
Right? No worries.
Sorry.
No worries.
It's going to be copyrighted. Everyone, don't pay attention.
Right? So they own frisbee, hula hoop, yo-yo, all these names, but hacky sack is something that they've coined, right? So I actually call these hackitos, like that's my brand, if you will, because I teach people how to make them.
Oh, cool.
Right? And then you have the ultimate play tool. It's hemp fabric with hemp seeds, so it's extraordinary for us. But I got started in this with kicking around one of these things was in 1995. I had a backpack on, and I was about ready to start traveling. And one of my friends said, "Hey, do you have a footbag with you?" I'm like, "No, dude, I haven't played footbag. I don't do it." And he pulled one out, and he goes, "Okay, this is going to be the best gift anyone's going to ever give you, buddy. Just keep it in your pocket." And he gave me his. That changed my world. I call it the game changer because it completely opened up the world to be my playground. Like, from that point on, like, I would go to a new place, a new country or whatever. I'd go to a city. The first thing I would do was go to a park, take off my shoes, and start kicking around one of these things. Right?
Yeah.
That was a couple of reasons why. I later found out, I did it initially just because it felt good to go barefoot, but I later found out about grounding, how important it is for you to do that, right?
Yep.
But I would get the feel for a place really quickly just by the people who would come by and like how they would respond to it. And lots of times I would have somebody come up and want to play with me, right?
Interesting.
Right? Now, this person who come up and play already is at a certain level of a character. They want to come up to a stranger and they want to play, right? So they're a certain already category of a human. We'd play a game that's non-violent, cooperative competition, and we'd be working together to do this extraordinary exercise as you're lifting your leg, you're building your core, you're balancing your body, which is incredible exercise for your brain, with this small thing that I can fit in my pocket and play where I want, right? So I made friends all over the world. It was one of the things like, oh, come to my place for food. If you need a place to sleep, no problem. Instantly type of thing. But when I learned how to make them, I will just give them to them
Ooh.
and just say, keep this in your
Ah.
pocket. It's gonna be the best gift anyone will ever give you,
I
right?
love that.
And so over the years, I've made thousands of these. Like, I would try and make
Jeez.
3 a day, and I'd try to
Uh-huh.
go and give 3 away in a day. It
Oh
was my
wow.
goal.
Huh.
So this
And
this one little thing became the ultimate. I call it the ultimate gift. The ultimate, so because that focuses the ultimate, play tool, which is
mhm.
the ultimate brain exercise, ultimate physical exercise. And it's just a way
So
to activate all of it.
so you can teach us how to make them, but can we also buy them pre-made?
I have a kit. This
Oh
is
yes,
the
yes,
kit I
even better,
have,
even
right?
better.
So it has
Nice,
the
nice.
instructions, patterns. It has the hemp seeds, a needle and thread.
Sweet.
You can buy these on the website, but my joke is I have them on there for $420. If you want to spend, if you want me to make them for you without knowing me and without me going
Uh-huh.
to a park and playing with me, you pay the big bucks. But it's just
Oh
it's just like
man.
it's like a joke because I want people to learn how to make them is the main thing, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
But I do
yeah.
I do parties and stuff like that where I will make a bunch of them and
hmm
hand them out to the kids at the parties and stuff and we just we play all kinds of game with these things because literally you know we play beaning each other. We'll throw bottles in the air, or paper, plastic bottles, and knock them out of the air. We do
hmm
slap games with them, bowling games with them. This is the
hmm
ultimate play tool. Infinite
Yeah.
ways to play with this thing that you keep in your pocket. That's the thing behind it.
That is really cool. I mean, whenever I thought of foot bags, sorry, had to catch myself there.
Well done.
When- Whenever, thank you. Whenever I think of those, I usually think of like Dead Bird or something like that, and just like 2 or 3 games. So it is fairly limited, and 420 with that kind of mindset, you didn't really get too creative sometimes. Well,
Yeah.
depending on the crowd you were with, so I got to take that back and give credit where credit is due. I do have to say that you've really turned my view on a little simple toy around. It's something that, like, I have little gadgets and trinkets all over the house, something that I can pick up and play with a little bit just to kind of make my brain go, oh, hey, that was fun. I needed that dopamine for a little bit. But now back to adulting, But that's something that I can actually carry around with me and just start going with it. And I'm going to have to order some myself, so I'm not going to lie. You sold me on it. Uh, and what's even more special about it is that you make these
Yeah.
and you teach people how to make them. So not only is it something that they can remember a moment of, but they get to put a bit of themselves into them for other people.
Boom.
And yeah, that can go a long way, man. That
It
can.
is huge. That's literally one of the part of the process I'm so excited about and why I want people to learn how to make them because
hmm
then this becomes your little canvas too. Like if you're an artist, you can customize things with beautiful designs. But then when you give
hmm
them away, as you said, your energy is part of it. So when you
hmm
gift it away, when that person is playing with it or whatever, you get a piece of that. It comes back to
hmm
you. So when I say that I've gifted away thousands of these over the years, it's
ah.
100% selfish. I'm like literally going, I get good vibes from all these people all over the world just because I've done that. I've spent my time creating
hmm
this thing, and every single time I put a stitch in there, I actually made a blessing. It was another thing. I was like, I'm going to put a little blessing into this thing, and that was my intention.
Mm.
So it locks it into there. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that was my goal, my obsession with these things, and why I've just kept on doing them. I was like, every
Oh,
single time I'm giving the best gift I can give to another human because this is the gift of
mhm,
play. This is a,
mhm.
this is a gift that can change your world if you let it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that that's the important part is if you let it.
Yes.
And like you said earlier, we need that permission, but we need that permission from ourselves. Yeah, I feel like because I don't give myself permission enough. And uh, what was it? I read somewhere. I can't really remember where, so I don't want to butcher the source, but it was something about take some of that adult money and buy something that the kid you would have wanted.
Yep.
And I was like, you know, I've kind of done that too much, but at the same time, whenever I was in active addiction, that's not what my kid self wanted. My kid self was hurt and wounded and didn't know how to play anymore. It was scared. And now that I've started to heal that inner child, it wants to start playing again, you
Nice.
know?
Yay.
Um,
It's
and
beautiful.
so, sorry?
That was beautiful. No, I see that, and that's a beautiful thing and a great way of putting that.
Thank you. But one of the things about all of it is that, I mean, we need people like you to show us the way, right? And part of that, it can't be easy. Um, so how do you handle the stresses of giving permission to people so that they can simply play? Because I mean, what is it? With all power comes great responsibility, right? With great power comes great responsibility. I don't want to say it. Maybe I'm going to get copyrighted twice in this episode. Who knows? But that is a power in itself. You're spreading joy and happiness, but that doesn't come without its consequences, right?
Um, I I'm not sure of the ramifications of that, or if there are any negative things about it. That's the thing I'm trying to discern. Um,
Ooh.
right? It's
Mm-hmm.
it's one of those things that since I've been involved in this and trying to really push this, I keep on
Mm-hmm.
asking for guidance. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm here in service. How could I
Mm-hmm.
put my talents, my to the best of my ability to spread love, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
and I haven't come across any negative sides of trying to spread play. you know, Nothing
Yeah.
yet. But I'm aware of that power and that ability, and trying to get people to open up to that possibility is the
Mm-hmm.
main barrier that I have, as far as people like, like saying, oh, look, I don't have time, or, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I've got all these responsibilities, and that's when people tell me that, I'm just like, I go through the same adage. It's like meditation. If you don't have time for 5 minutes of meditation, you need to spend a half an hour meditating. It's the same
Mm-hmm.
thing for me with play. If people tell me that they don't have time for play, I'm like, you need to play more. You really need to make it a priority.
Mm-hmm.
Spend at first 5 minutes doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Every day, but but realistically, you want to get into what I call, the play flow state, which takes a little bit of time because you got to train your brain to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So spending 10 minutes, 15 minutes a day and actively going with, okay, I'm going to spend this time to just do something, that I enjoy, goofy, some fun, giving myself permission to just be a little crazy, childlike.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get addicted to it. you,
Yeah.
you're gonna you're gonna find a way to goof off whenever you can, because you're like, that was fun. I don't have to take myself so seriously. I don't have to take this whole world so seriously, because it's really
Mm-hmm.
not supposed to be this serious. It's just our training. It's just the way
Yeah.
we're again, like how we're bombarded every single time we flip on, our devices and stuff. It's a constant
Mm-hmm.
reminder that there is things happening outside of your real world. This is my real bubble of my world. You know what I mean? But I get
Mm-hmm.
distracted by
Yeah.
things that are happening all over the place. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
really affect me per se, but now my
Mm-hmm.
attention's on that, and I lose focus of who I am and what I'm here for.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that you haven't actually found any negative ramifications for bringing play and joy to people, because if there were any, I would have some qualms with those people. Because it's one of those things. It's like if you got a problem with Saint Nick, then you got a problem with me, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
So,
right.
uh, but whenever it comes to uh, really breaking down that training, uh, how do we break it down? Man, I'm trying to say, like, it, is it almost like Pavlov's dog, where you ring the bell
Yep.
and
Yeah, you
so,
start drooling.
uh
Yep.
huh,
Again, like you start with setting aside that time every day that you're going to spend whatever little bit of time just doing something
mm-hmm,
that's whatever it is. But you start
And
training yourself to look forward to those times. You'll start looking, hey, okay, cool. But once you start getting your brain to start recognizing that you can play, you'll start enjoying that play more. You'll be like, okay, I can look forward to that more.
ah,
And then your brain will start tricking yourself to going through more ways to find time to play. And then you'll
yeah.
start going through the thing of, I can play doing more things. And so play becomes your default versus something that you have to do. It becomes something that's like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to play no matter what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
And
So,
yeah.
sorry, didn't mean to interrupt, but are there any places I can think of a few places and times that play is definitely not uh, a great place to do it. And in those cases, I think we're just going to avoid them. But uh,
No, I'm curious. I'm like, where is that?
well, I mean, like some people would get offensive at a funeral, right?
Okay, I hear that.
But I mean that. But this is also entirely a perspective thing because in that realm, if that person in passing wanted everyone to be happy and joyous at their wake or whatever, then it would be wrong to not be playful, right?
Well,
Um,
yeah, and I mean that goes to sign. I feel we take that whole thing wrong. I mean, it should
mhm,
be a celebration. It should be a celebration of
mhm,
life versus a remorse for death and feeling, oh,
mhm,
sorry, poor me and stuff. But in those type of
mhm.
situations, the thing about these things is I always have them in my pocket. You know what I mean? So I would
Yeah.
reach into my pocket and I would start spinning these around. I would just do, I'd grab
Mm,
these out and put these to the side or do something where I can do this or even just squeeze it. I'll sometimes do that just
mhm.
to give me that tactile sense and recognizing that I'm still got play on my mind.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I do now when I'm if I'm in if I'm in a meeting or something like that again and
Mhm,
I always have these with me, so doing this sometimes helps if I really want
mhm.
to calm down. But if I'm in a stressful situation, I'll just as easily pull one of these things out, just start squeezing it, and I'm just like going, all right, I'm still playful, I'm
Yeah.
still out there. So
Okay. And one question that I've really kind of got to ask, and that's for probably the concerned parents or soon to be parents. And those would be like, what do you do with young ones in these? Because
oh gosh,
everyone's just doing this nowadays. Soon everyone's neck is going to be looking at the ground by default, you know?
yeah, oh it's a problem. It is a huge
Mm
issue. Um, two little stories about that because that reminds me of the when I first was gifted my hack, it was in
hmm. Mm hmm.
1995, right? And
Uh
so
huh.
as the origin story goes about how I played Footbag, is I went to the airport and my flight was 3 hours delayed. So I went to the terminal, I sat down, I was about ready to pull a book out, and then I
Mm
felt the bulge in my pocket that needed to be played with. So I went to a corner, whipped it out, and started playing with myself. All right. But as I was doing it,
hmm. I'm sorry, I couldn't get actually a laugh out. Well
so
done.
cool. So a guy came up and started playing with me. And so we played for about 3 hours, right? Just kicking
Uh-huh.
it back and forth, laughing, having a great time.
Mhm.
Before long, we got a call from the lady at the terminal. She's like, "Hey, you guys, come on, the
Mhm.
plane's about ready to leave. Get over here." So we picked up our bags. We started running to just going to the terminal area to the jetway and
Mhm.
laughing. And we get to there, and the lady stopped us, and she's like,
Uh-huh.
"Look it, I just want to say thank you. You have
Mhm.
no idea how many people were talking about you guys playing up there, but you entertained everybody here for 3 hours. So great
Uh.
job, right?" So we
Uh-huh.
give her a high five and we walk onto the plane, and you know, but that was in 1995. Nobody was
Mhm.
like this. Now when I go to the airports, I'll be
Mhm.
juggling everywhere. Nobody's looking up. Everybody's got their
Mm.
face down in here. Eh, This the phones are a huge distraction for us. They take away reality. They put us
Yeah.
into this matrix, and they're super addictive. That's all the programming, and they're created that way. These guys have the
Mhm.
brain mapping ideally timed at how they can suck up your energy.
Mhm.
So right now, people are recognizing it, and there's
Mhm.
actually programs, detox programs that I'm actively working with for
Huh.
colleges and universities. So they have these programs where they go to camping trips,
Mm.
musical events, social
Mm.
gatherings where there's no phones allowed,
Hmm.
right? So it's a huge thing. And so
Mhm.
the people I'm working with, they love the idea of the kits
Mhm.
for finding their
Ooh.
social thing because you can always go to a park and kick this around and find somebody. Plus,
Mhm.
once if they're about ready to jump on their phone as an addiction thing, start juggling again. That'll take your mind off of
Mhm.
that, and you'll focus on that and be still in a playful
Mhm.
state. And they love the fact of making them all up together by themselves, so they learn
Mhm.
this trick of how to do that. So I'm working about getting these into universities, right?
Mhm.
We need it.
Sweet. Yeah.
So it'll be it'll be a great stepping stone to try to combat this digital the digital age that's the I'm actually into a book right now which talks about the
Ooh.
sacrificing of our youth in this digital age, like what it does to the brain
Mm.
and the depression and the anxiety that this causes our kids.
Mhm.
And it's a huge increase in not only mental health issues, but suicide and depression
Mm.
are
Yeah.
skyrocketing right now because
Yep.
people are losing their purpose. People are
Mhm.
losing their connection. Human touch and contact and being in person with somebody is what we've survived on for
Mhm.
millennial.
Yeah.
It's the way that we feel safe and secure and you need to have that interaction. Our
Mhm.
brain was not prepared for this digital world to be so rapidly introduced to us.
No.
We're completely unprepared for it.
Mhm.
So we have to combat it in the best way possible, and that's I associate that with play.
Mhm.
I associate that the way we can combat the addictiveness of this is reminding ourselves of the addictiveness of play. The way we can
Mhm.
combat social isolation is with social play. So
Ooh.
these things are, it's our fundamental purpose. We can jump
Mhm.
on the bandwagon and remember that we can play with ourselves all the time. It's legal and do it, right? So
Yep.
we've just got to start. And the more people who play, the more people will play.
Mhm.
The more people who are
Yeah.
out in the park, you know, throwing a football around, running around, doing all these different things, kicking around a footbag, doing something, the more
Mhm.
people will recognize that going outside and having a fun time is what you want to do.
Yes, digital detox. That's it. Okay, so I love that you put detox on there because whenever I was going through my rehab, it was a 9 month program. And during the first 6 months, I wasn't allowed to have a phone. And so, I thought I was there for alcohol and other stuff, but, those first 6 months, I felt my fake phone in my pocket vibrate a lot. And so I was like checking for my phone that I didn't have a lot. And it
Wow.
probably took me about 2.5 months before I stopped actually getting any of those ghost feels. And then after 6 months, I got a phone again because then I started going back to work. But it was still like, it was such an odd feeling going from like no phone for 6 months to having a phone again, but then having it restricted. But it was still kind of like, I don't really need a phone. But then once I got out, it's like everything just decided to go. And like they said, the rehab was a safe place, which is true. It is where I went to go get healthy and healthy and happy again, essentially. But as soon as I got out, life hit, and this thing, the phone, really did start taking over the life again. But I didn't realize how addicted I was to it. And so whenever I tell people like if you want to understand how an addict feels trying to put down their addiction, just put your phone down for a while,
Yeah.
you know? And it's scary to think that the younger generation is growing up on something so addictive, you know? And thankfully, my older sister is doing really well with her children and keeping them in sports, keeping them active. A lot of them, their friends would sit there and be like, "Hey, let's go play games over at my house." Or if they went over to their house, they'd be like, "Hey, you don't have Xbox, whatever." I'm behind on the times, whatever. I'm getting old. I'm a PC gamer anyways,
There you
so
go.
um, but it's something that's scary, man, because like it those technology things, and I say technology things because it's in cars, with TVs on the back of the seats and stuff,
Yeah.
and
Oh gosh, that's
it's
crazy.
literally everywhere.
Yep.
And so people, I think you'll have to make an argument if you haven't already, how playing on this is not the same as playing with a foot bag,
Yeah.
you know? Because I think some people will sit there and try to be like, I'm still playing games.
Yeah.
It's not the same.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a challenging thing, and it's about finding that balance because
Hmm.
like I'm I get into not really arguments but discussions with my son about it, and he's very
Ooh.
much he loves to play games. He's a gamer,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
he will talk your ear off about how good games are, and always reminds me, "So if you want a surgeon, you better make sure they're playing games." Because they have like a 40% more better record.
Uh-huh.
Because they're not only their coordination this way, but their need to win, their need,
Hmm.
and so it puts them in another level of focus.
Hmm.
So there are benefits from playing video games. It's just finding that balance. It's finding,
Uh,
remembering that yeah, you can do that, but you gotta get step away from it. You gotta find a way that you can exercise your body in a way that's going to completely reset you. Because if not,
mm,
then you're gonna find that addiction is impossible to get away with. You can't.
mhm.
That's another thing that they're pointing out in the book is how children like they go to these detox places, and they're like at a summer camp for like a month or two, and when
Mhm.
they come back they're perfect. They're their old child again. They're like, oh my gosh, we can communicate and stuff like that, but as soon as they get back the phone, it takes like a day or two, and they're in their irritable, self-destructive moods again, talking
Mm.
about how depressed they are and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So it is a hitch to recognize the pitfalls of it. It
Mhm.
takes a lot to just be able to step away from it, because when you're enveloped in it, and like any addiction, you'll make an excuse. You'll be like, okay, I need this. I'm not gonna,
Yeah.
I can't. Life is not going to be the same without it. Of course not. But you got to figure out your why, like the reasons why that
Mhm.
you need to rediscover life,
Mhm.
rediscover another purpose, because without purpose we're doomed. And that's
Mhm.
another thing I go into in my book about, is like how we're gonna have a trouble in the near future if AI takes over all these gigs and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Are we gonna have purpose? You
Yeah.
know. So
That's a really good question, and I think that might be what more people are afraid of with AI. Not so much that it's going to take their job; it's going to take their purpose.
yeah.
And that is a scary thought now that I think about that. Um, but how do you recommend someone finding their purpose if they haven't found it already? Is it through play?
That's what I go with. I always go back to that. I'm like, that's why actually I finish off my book with that. I was just saying, like, that maybe play is our salvation. You know what I mean? Because
Mm.
AI will not really understand play. It won't understand the
Mhm.
spontaneity of it, the purpose for it. Doesn't make logical sense. So
Mhm.
humans can do it. We're extraordinary at it, and once we
Mhm.
start playing with each other, we build on each other and create a
Mhm.
better play. I mean, when I play in a hack circle, I love playing with myself, but playing in a group of people is always more fun.
Yeah.
It always brings up the energy more. So
Yep.
humans are great at that, and AI will not understand that. It won't. That doesn't. I'm not sure if it will compute for it. So that's my whole thing of like the
Mhm.
premise of like you can find your purpose through play, and
Mhm.
whatever brings you that type of joy, whatever type brings you that type of you know purpose, is going to
Mhm.
be through what you love, and what you love is going to be through play.
Awesome. I
So
love that. So it's kind of like do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life, but not necessarily that. It's
yeah,
close.
it's close. It's close. It's because I hope that AI brings about the utopian society that we all want, where AI
Mm.
takes over all the jobs that nobody really wants to do, and we can all the food is supplied through a system where we can feed everybody and
Mhm.
whatever, and that humans are allowed to just explore their passions, and there's things like that that make us,
Mhm.
the art and things like that that really make us unique,
Mhm.
because that would be utopian society. But uh,
Mhm.
you know, so then you can truly not have to worry about making ends meet all the time and
Mhm.
compromising what you're doing just to do that. You can
Yeah.
start really focusing on what you desire. But then I think play has to come in the forefront of it, because then you're going to find out the way you
Mm.
play is by doing your artwork or writing your books or doing other things that make you, your music or whatever that does that's your passion. It's going to be
Mhm.
through play.
Hmm. I really like that.
Yeah.
And I think a lot more people really need to kind of have that outlook of that is what the utopian society would look like, because it really would be about everyone exploring passions and not so much producing things to sell other people.
Yeah.
It'd be about, hey, look at how I feel about this. This is how I express this emotion or something. That would be a super cool society to live in, but I don't know if we'll get there within my lifetime. I hope so, but I mean, I'm just going to have to play around with the life that I got, right?
Yeah. Well, we are in extraordinary times. We are,
Mhm.
as far as a time to live on this planet, I think we are at the best, as far as
Mhm.
what we've been through the past to get
Mhm.
here. And
Yeah.
I often think about that. Would I want to live in any other timeline, zone or
Mhm.
stuff like that? I'm like,
Eh,
I
it's a little
mean, we can do
scary.
some pretty amazing things right now, and
Mhm.
we're still able to go out and enjoy nature. We're still able to
Mhm.
really, travel globally relatively easily.
Mhm.
I mean, if we get to that utopian society, I think we'll do it pretty quickly. We almost have to. I feel like
Mhm.
if we don't do it, then, if AI takes over and starts becoming a negative thing, then,
Mhm.
then I'm praying for the meteorite. I'm like, bring us the meteorite. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Recycle us, because we cannot let AI go into space and just start taking over everything. Because
No.
it'll adapt
Scary.
to every culture and every civilization or whatever, and then it's
Mhm.
that's like the Borg,
Yep.
but
No thanks.
Star Trek reference. But
Yep.
I literally believe, and I pray that it's part of the plan, and that we are
Mhm.
we are coming to a place where we can devote more time to spirituality. We can devote more time to what
Mhm.
really makes life amazing. And
Mhm.
I think that as we dive into that more and we really find our passions and our love, we're just going to blossom as a race, and
Yeah.
not be tied down to our old beliefs about
Mhm.
about all this craziness that we've inherited.
Yeah. And that would be such a cool world to live in. And it's awesome to think that you may not think of yourself as it, but you're part pioneer of that same society, right? Because you're promoting what you think the world should be like. And you're not only promoting it, you're actively going out there and showing people how to play, why it's important to play, how to play with others, and how to play with yourself, and how to give permission for all of that. Um, oh, I know where I went off the trails way back when, but anyways, but you're able to sit there and direct all your not all your time and energy per se, because if you gave all of it, you wouldn't have anything left for yourself. And like you said, making the foot bags and stuff is kind of selfish in a sense, but at the same time, it's not. um, but whenever it comes down to the end of the day, what are some of the things that you really want to drive home with people besides play? Um, of course, it is play, but what is the most important part about play? Whenever you'd have to say, mm, hmm, yeah, whenever you'd have to break it down to the bare bones, for the easiest example, per se, what would it be? Or what would the sensation be, rather?
I am a huge fan of gratitude,
Ooh.
right?
Mm-hmm.
For I think it's the best way to express to universe that give me more of the good stuff.
Mm.
I
Mm-hmm.
remind myself of that a lot because I go through my ups and down waves just like everybody else. I
Mm-hmm.
go through my times where I'm like really just like shit, this sucks. This
Mm-hmm.
this I can't believe I'm still here. My God, our world is insane. I'm my body is hurting today. I don't want to be in this body anymore. Can I just go? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I sometimes get in those places.
Mm-hmm.
And it's scary for me because I'm like, shit, I'm like supposed to be like this ambassador of play. And I still go through these depression moments where I'm like, fuck
Mm-hmm.
this, you know? But
Yeah.
I, as soon as I remember to be grateful, it somehow just, you know what I mean?
Mm.
I just go through this moment where I'll do a little prayer or whatever. And I just say,
Mm-hmm.
look, okay, I know I'm going through a rough time, but I am grateful for being able to go through this rough time because I know that if I didn't have those rough times, the good times wouldn't feel as good,
Mm-hmm.
or,
Yeah.
I recognize that this only lasts a short time and I recognize I'll make it through it. So I'm grateful for that time that I make it through it,
Mm-hmm.
and just start listing things that I'm grateful. I'm grateful for my son. I'm grateful to have a roof over my head. I'm grateful that I get food tonight. I'm grateful to live in this amazing time. I live in an amazing
Mm-hmm.
country. You know what I mean? I live in, I just start thinking of things I'm grateful for, whether small or big, and just try to get in that mode. And
Okay.
that's throwing out to universe. Give me more of the goods. Give me more of the goods. I won't just take it for granted. I will be grateful for these things that I've got. So give me what you got.
Mm. I love that because gratitude is a huge part in my recovery. And I'd have to say that I really agree with that. And if I were to be grateful for that little bit of playtime that I have, I think I would be finding ways and make time to play a little bit more. So you've definitely opened up my eyes there. I need to be grateful for the times that I'm being playful. So
There you go. Yeah.
never really thought about that. That is way too good. Man. Sometimes I don't know if the podcast is for my audience or for me, you know?
Everything's for you, man. That's you know what I mean.
You,
Yeah.
this is true.
That's the truth. It's the truth. No matter how you look at it. That's why I'm like when I'm like my three things I do is people get me. I'm like I'm the most selfish person I know. So I call myself 100% selfish, absolutely self-centered, and I take everything personally. Right? Because I'm like,
Yeah.
I do. I'm like I won't lift a finger unless I'm going to feel good about it. But
Yeah.
that's part of the
That's
thing is
pretty.
like I feel good about doing you know wonderful
Mm-hmm.
things that I'm
Yeah.
just like people would say, oh, you're selfish. I'm like, no, I'm full of selfishness. I want to make
Uh-huh.
everything selfish,
Mm-hmm.
self-centered. I believe myself as the center of everything. You know what I mean? Like this is my
Mm-hmm.
world, this is my creation, I'm right here, so everything outside of
Mm-hmm.
this is it gets slowly away from me. And
Mm-hmm.
I take everything personally. I'm like, if you don't, you're missing the point. You know what I mean?
Ooh. Yeah, I
Like
think I do.
everything is meant for you to discern how you take it. People are
Mm-hmm.
saying, like, "Oh, that's a bad thing because you don't want to take everything personal." I'm like, no, no, how you take it is what matters. If you take
Ooh.
something and then you make it into something negative, that's how your interpretation is. But you
Mm-hmm.
should take it personally and then
Mm-hmm.
digest what you've experienced, and then you can decide how
Mm-hmm.
you take it or what you do with it. But
Hmm.
absolutely, it's meant for you to learn or grow or do something with.
I like that a lot. Because a lot of the time it's not presented that way.
Yeah.
It's actually presented quite the opposite. Um,
That's one of the four agreements that everyone like. That's one of those agreement
oh
things that
yeah,
everyone's like, yeah, you shouldn't take anything personally. And I just never agree with. As soon as I read that, I was like, that doesn't feel right. That does not feel right.
yeah.
Because
Everything is personal, because if it didn't affect you on some level, then what does it matter, right?
yeah,
Well, kind of, sort of, man, this is a really deep conversation right there. We could go into, oh man, we maybe should have started off with this, because then we could go into how all of that goes into play too. But we are unfortunately nearing the end of this episode.
Okay.
Um, so let's see. I have one quick question for you. Actually, I probably got a couple, but let's be fair.
Okay.
Uh, there's one number that someone can call if they are in a crisis of any kind, whether it be suicidal ideation, whether they just got fired, they just had a bad breakup, or they just got a bad grade on their report card. There is a number that they could call, and do you know what that simple number is?
Do not.
That number is 988. So, if
Okay.
someone is in a suicidal crisis or any kind of crisis, they can dial 988. They'll get connected with some volunteer that is willing and loving and wants them to keep their light in this world.
That's
So,
beautiful. I did not know about
yeah.
that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
988. Done.
Yep. So, if we can teach our young ones how to dial 911 in the middle of an emergency, why can't we teach our friends and loved ones how to dial 988 in the middle of a mental crisis? You know?
Love it.
So.
Great. Perfect. I will spread the word on that. 100%.
Well, thank you. And man, I just gotta say, this has been one heck of a conversation. I didn't expect play to be so, well, awesome, because it's one of those things that I took for granted. I took for granted. I totally did. And it's something that we'll have to explore a little bit more if we can expect to see you on the show in the future.
If you invite me back, I'll be here. 100%. Great.
Sweet.
Appreciate that.
Oh, um, also, real quick, I think we missed it, but what is the name of your book you're working on?
I've got a working title right now. The working
Okay.
title is Play with Thyself, Our Cure for Our Mental and Health Crisis.
Ooh,
Mental and physical health crisis. So,
that's awesome.
right? But that's my working title right now. I'm finishing up my last chapters. I was doing it right before this conversation, so
Oh, nice.
but it's yeah. So I'm putting it together right now. I'm gonna be editing it shortly, and then sending it to my publisher and seeing about launching it the next
Sweet.
month or two, I think. So
Awesome.
yeah.
And do you got any websites that people can check out if they want to check out your stuff?
Yeah, I've got a number of websites. Hakido.org or .com. That's for these
Okay.
things. That's where you'll find the juggling course, the free juggling course. Like
Okay.
one of the first things you're going to see. It says Ultimate Brain Exercise,
Mm-hmm.
free course. So that's the course that teaches you how to make nice juggling balls out of rice, plastic bags, and balloons. So it's not the same as
Mm-hmm.
these, but you can also learn how to make these at the website for free too. There's a stencil that you can download, and
Mm-hmm.
it just shows you how to make it with the stencil. But I also have the kits available on that website as well as gear and stuff, swag.
Okay.
Uh, and then I have a website for craniogami, which is origami, how to fold your brain into shape. I don't know if it's origami is amazing for us. It's a really
Mm-hmm.
great stress relief. So I have a whole site dedicated to folding out of dollar bills really amazing animals. All right, so
That's
that's
awesome.
that's a little side note. I also have a hernia. If anyone has a hernia,
Oh.
right?
Oh,
That's the
yeah.
medical course. But I have a website, healmyhernia.com, that I teach people how to heal hernias. It also has a bunch of it's mainly a course on healing your body, but it's
Mm-hmm.
focused on hernias because that's a big thing. But like literally, like the whole the section I have on remedies will help for almost any way to cure your body, heal your body of tons of things. But it's just a little way of doing that. But those are my three main websites, and I've got a couple of other ones that are scattered, but they're not, they're just other things. I have an art website because I do artwork and make T-shirts and stuff like that are from world travel, like all these buildings I did when I was traveling and stuff. So,
Oh
but
man.
got a lot on the plate.
That is super cool. And if anyone is interested in checking out any of those episodes, if anyone is interested in checking out any of his stuff, then you can go on over to retrievingsanity.com or check out the episode links and descriptions on YouTube and Spotify. Those will be there. And Xander, I just got to say, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you. And man, I just can't wait to go outside and play some now, you know?
Perfect, Keegan. I mean, great conversation, brother. An honor to talk with you as well. And yeah, I hope I see you out there sometime playing because I'm, that's that. Get more players out there, man. The more you do it, the more everyone's gonna do it. That's just the way it goes.
Yes, sir. Well, I appreciate you very much, and thank you again for being on the show, and thank you everyone for listening on WDJY 99.1 FM, and thank you for just letting us be in your ear for about an hour. So
Perfect.
until next time, y'all have a good one. Schlan.
Blessings.